as human beings, and specifically as men, since we are children, we are undergoing so many experiences, so many subtle experiences, and receiving so much data that's unprocessed. Sometimes people forget, one time you were a little kid, you couldn't even raise your own head. And your life was totally in the hands of somebody, which is called the mother. Now, of course, modern society wants to tell you that the mother is the greatest thing since God itself. Fine. But as you grow older, you get to know mom, you're like, well, whoever that person is a person. And she got issues. And she has her anxieties and fears and insecurities. And as a child, you're subject to all of that, but you're defenseless. Right? Everybody's got a friend who's intense. So sometimes, right, they come and they're always whining and always complaining. It's always a problem, right? It's intense to deal with that psychotic anxiety. So I'm not going to pick up the phone. Or I'm not going to go out today with that person. You have some kind of defense, some kind. We're keeping things at the surface. But as a little child, you're defenseless. So all of what is in mom is entering in you. You can't protect yourself. There's an onslaught of attack, which is, for the most part, unconscious. It's just she's anxious. It's like she's full of anxiety, fear, insecurities. And now as a child, you're receiving all of that, and it's penetrating you, and you have no defense mechanism. You can't even flex your muscles. You don't even know how to tense yourself to protect yourself in the first place. So you are at the height of sensitivity. There's only sensitivity at that stage. There's nothing else. There's no motor skill. When you're in the womb of your mom, you don't even eat. Food is processed for you because your system doesn't know or hasn't gained the strength to be able to process it. It's the most refined, simple, it's glucose. So the point of what I'm trying to say is, from the very start, you're subject to all those demands. And you can't protect yourself. So what's a child going to do? They're going to slowly learn to protect themselves. And how do you do that? By slowly creating tensions. So that they create a shield. So that it's not so intense, it's not so overwhelming. And that shield now becomes part of you. But that shield is held up in the psyche. The psyche is not necessarily like a computer that thinks and talks. It's full of subtleties and forms and textures. So this is the experience of a little child. Yeah, but you're the little child. You're just a grown-up now. You're 40, 50, 60, 80, 22, 16. The little child is you. It's your sensitivity. But that sensitivity never had the chance to grow and mature in strength. It's immediately had to shield itself and protect itself. Because the sensitivity of the child is a threat to its own existence. But it's not really. It's the circumstances that are abnormal. Which is a beautiful conversation I'll gladly have at some other point. Everything is abnormal. So it's not the sensitivity that was an issue. But the sensitivity has now become an issue. So now you have to close yourself to the sensitivity. And the relationship between the son and the mother is very special. Another conversation to be had. It's very different than the relationship between the daughter and the mother. That means the demands that the mother has on the son is at a whole other level than she has an expectation she has with her daughter. So it's so much more intense and in so much different way. Okay? You can't protect yourself. So sensitivity now becomes the enemy. And from that point on, the child wants to close himself, to protect himself, because he doesn't want to be overwhelmed, invaded by mother's textures. This is unconscious. So now just allow that child to grow over the years. That child never learned the power of the sensitive nervous system. doesn't understand that aspect of the mind, which, like I said, well, it becomes unconscious. That's what allows you to perceive. Not just perceive, this is hot, this is cold, I like the taste of that, I don't like the taste. No, it's perceive everything. Perceive subtleties, which are very real, but now to you become, this is funny talk. I'm like, no, you're brute now. You don't feel. Well, look at that. That's like, you're puny, you're a weakling. I'm like, no, that person may be oversensitive, or that person's nervous system may be totally out of balance, and then you want to mock it. Understood. But that's not an issue with the sensitivity. That's an unbalance. Sensitivity is what allows you to perceive, and perceive things at a much wider, much bigger level than your little like squared linear fucking reality. Because that's not that we don't live in a squared linear reality. But that's what modernity is trying to teach us. It's taken the great mystery of the cosmos, put it into some kind of fucking ejaculation. It's mechanic vectors with invisible things that just made, and out of nowhere, it's removed the mystery. It's not mystery, not in the sense of the magnificence of it, and made it so like it's nothing. Wait, you live on Earth. What the fuck is Earth? Where does it come from? What's the intelligence that created? You are the byproduct of Earth. For what purpose? What's the story of Earth? You don't fucking know. They told you that 7 billion years ago there was a bang, and here you are out of the ocean. You became a monkey, and this is what you are. They've removed the juice. It's like you're eating empty pulp. Everything is linear. But life is clearly not linear. It's complex. That means multiple layers all interacting, all weave together to create an extraordinary symphony. And you are an element in that symphony. You don't even know that because you desensitized. You don't feel yourself. You don't feel your deep complexity. You don't feel your relationship to the greater complexity. Complex, again, means a lot of layers. That's what the word complex is. It's not complicated. It's complex, many layers. So you don't perceive that. So you become this little linear shit. And what does the modern world motivate you to do? Push you? Go and just be at the surface, which is the superficial conscious mind. And the superficial conscious mind. Just surface and more surface and the surface of the surface. And let everything else disappear. Because that's what connects you to everything. No, everything is dangerous. Or it doesn't exist. And then you have these memes that appear in your brain. Oh, once we knew this person and she's crazy, or this or that. Memes. I don't want to be associated to that. I don't want to be associated to this. And I understand. It's not that I don't understand. Okay, but that ain't got nothing to do. That's the person that's out of balance. What does sensitivity have to do? I perceive. That's what sensitivity means. I perceive. But there's a lot to perceive. That's what I'm trying to tell you. There's a lot to perceive. There's so much to perceive. So the science of perception is a very basic function of a healthy human being. You need to perceive. If you can't perceive everything, you're pretty much lost. You don't know who you are. You don't know where you are. You don't know what you're supposed to do. Comes in some kind of ideology that tells you what life is, and it's linear. Well, God created man in 7 days, created everything in 7 days, 1 day off, and this is what you got to do, and this is what you do. Okay. Look how linear it is. Now, there's more to the story than that. I don't want to just put my attention on it. But you understand what I'm trying to say? Let's just make things linear, because God forbid it becomes big. God forbid. But we're going to make you a movie. It's called Doctor Strange. That's going to entertain you with bigness. And then you're going to enjoy that because it's like, wow, Star Wars shit. It's like deep psychic shit. But that's fiction. That ain't fucking fiction. This is a movie. But the movie, where'd they get the idea from? From an aspect of reality. Now, it's a movie. I didn't say that's how reality is, but it's giving you texture. That's why people love it. I grew up in the fucking 80s and 90s. We adored Star Wars. Why? Because it was the only thing in modern culture that gave us a sense that there's more to life than this linear little shit. And we had this little green guy who said there's the Force, and everybody understood. Everybody understood. It's like, yeah, it surrounds us. It binds us. There's something else than this little shit world in which I'm living. Then I got to go to school and listen to this nonsense, idiotic teacher that stinks, talk about bullshit that ain't true, and I know it. And then I can't even say that it ain't true, because what do I know? Of course, I feel that it's untrue, but feelings don't exist. This is not scientifically proven. Right? So we want to dismiss all of that. Or we associate it to madness or craziness. It's not to say that there are not people who are out of balance that we can quote unquote call crazy. Oh yeah, but that's an out of balanceness. What does that have to do with sensitivity? That's sensitivity out of balance. Anyway, it's a big subject. So if you want to understand health, and I guess we can sum it up and conclude for today, maybe, maybe not. The essence of health is perception. Because we understand, everybody understands this, the human body is an intelligent machine, and its function is to find equilibrium. So it has to collect data, understand, process, digest the data, and create the appropriate action to bring equilibrium. Yes or no? Y'all, everybody knows this. Great. Well, what happens if you don't perceive the data? How the fuck does your system and your nervous system reestablish equilibrium if you didn't perceive what the fuck is you don't get the signal? How the fuck do you bring equilibrium? Well, it's impossible. So the equilibrium is not going to be found. There's going to be a tension, and then you're going to find some bogus equilibrium established on a pool of tension. The very essence of health, or a healthy organism, it doesn't matter what kind of organism, let's say if it's a breathing organism, is to perceive. It perceives what's from the outside, and the outside means also from within. That means my organs, what's in my inner world, but it's outside, right? It's not outside, but you understand what I'm trying to say. And then what do I need to do now to bring equilibrium? Because the moment equilibrium is lost, death is upon us. That's exactly how our nervous system functions. There's an organism. If it goes out of equilibrium, it means death is upon us. It creates an action to reestablish equilibrium. I'm thirsty. Death is upon you, motherfucker. If you don't drink, you're going to die. You got about 18 hours or 25 hours or whatever it is, right? So now, you need to do something. It's not you need to do something. We're doing something. That's how actual nervous system functions. Now, we're going to go get water. And of course, you have a radar that tells you where the water's at. Because otherwise, you're going to die. So you got the inner GPS that knows where the water at. And then here you go find the water so that you can, and you have about 48 hours to go find water, depending on how far you find yourself and what kind of organism you are, so that we can get our dose of water and come back to balance, where you can now find repose. We're good. Yeah, but you got to perceive. So you got to receive the data. But this is an animal. This is the basic functioning in the nervous system for an animal. But the human beings is the supreme animal, dare I say. And that may offend some people. But I think we understand each other. That means the human being's capacity is incomparable to any other mammal, which means its perception capacity is infinitely greater, and that means it must process infinitely more amount of data in order to find equilibrium. Now, this is not outside of its capacity, its scope of capacity. It's supposed to know how to do that. Just like the fucking tiger knows exactly what to do to be a tiger. It doesn't go to school. It just grows into a tiger. It knows exactly what to do. So the same goes for the human being. So it's designed to be able to process an infinitely greater amount of data that it has to manage in order to find equilibrium so that it can find repose. But now, you cut the sensitivity out, which means you can't perceive. You can perceive just this much. Some people, they don't know when they're thirsty. Do you understand this? This is like, I'm hot. This is a hot room today. Temperature here is hot, so I'm getting hot. Some people, they need a watch to tell them when to drink water. Do you understand what this means? This person can't eat, his system can't even communicate, I'm thirsty. That's fucked up. You can't even feel thirst. So I've made the example like really dumb so that you understand. Now let's extrapolate and put this into something much greater. So the human being is not just here to eat, drink, shit, fuck. It has a greater function, which requires greater perception and a greater capacity to integrate, so it creates the appropriate actions to find equilibrium. Whoa. That's right. You know Kung Fu. How can you get that data if your system is blocked? And it's been blocked since God knows when. But let's say, I'm going to say pre-womb. That's really far away. But let's just say since the very onset of your current existence, you're closed. It's not your fault. It's just this is the modern world. What you gonna do? So that's it. So then of course you're dumb. Dumb means you don't know. You're clueless. Here you are walking like a zombie, and you have no idea what's up or down. And it's getting worse from generation to generation because the world outside is now assisting and facilitating the closure. Technology makes it more hard. Listen, I spent some time in Hawaii. I came back to the city. I was going berserk. Now, I was always a sensitive person, and EMFs and no EMFs, and some people want to say it's not scientifically proven. Motherfucker, it's so proven, and you just not be there, and then come in and you're like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, zzz, right? So what I was trying to say is that the technologies on the outside are so intense for the nervous system that you got to close yourself all the more to protect yourself from the intensity of the machinery around you. That's why some people trip on the 5G and whatnot, because it's affecting you. It's affecting your nervous system whether you like it or not. So the modern world is facilitating closing yourself, and closing yourself means what? Nervous system protecting, which means the signal is minimal. It doesn't disappear, it just becomes unconscious. It's out of your perception. So then how does one achieve genuine health if they have no sense of who they are, where they are, what they're supposed to do, what they're supposed to manage, and never learn how to do it? But that sounds kind of weird for some people. Yeah, I'm that dude. I'm going to make shit big because life is big and it deserves to be respected because it's grand. Kabir, it's big. Respect. So that's the basics of life. Respect. Everything you want to make small so that you can wrap your mind around it because you're a weakling and a coward. I'm sorry, I got to tell it to you like it is. You're disrespecting life itself because you got everything. You got to make it small like you, so that you can feel I got it. I'm like, no, that's not how you'll find health. You find health by exhale, relax. There's something greater than you, and it's carrying you. You don't have to control everything. Anyways, I digress. I think I made my point. Those of you who understand, shout out to you. Those who don't understand, think about it. And those who don't give a fuck, you're probably not listening to me, so God bless you too.